Order. This first our organizational meeting to seat newly elected board members, which there are two. Or does Tim get sworn in too?
Huh?
You get sworn in too?
Yes.
All right, three, excuse me. So.
Four. Brandy, two.
Sorry, four of you. And advocacy. In providing vision, the board, with extensive participation of the community, envisions the community's educational future and then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for the public schools. To achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board, we must be accountable to the community, we must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. As board members, we serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community schools to advance the vision for our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together with the superintendent and staff to lead the district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Now, if you can recite after, or recite along with me, I guess. Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, I hereby publicly affirm my commitment to the oath of office. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of the Independent School District 29, to the best of my judgment and ability.
Now we're.
So, all right, welcome. All right, section 4, election of board officers.
Number 3, I'll make a motion that we approve the organizational agenda.
Thanks, Tim. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Lisa. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Election of officers 4.1. Can I get a motion for board chair?
I will make a motion or nomination for John Yuhan for board chair.
I'll support.
Are there any other nominations? I will accept the nomination. Is there any others? Let me take a vote.
No.
No? No other nominations?
Acclamation, you get it.
All right. Well, thank you. I will, 4.2, nominations for vice chair.
I make a motion to nominate Lisa Westby for vice chair, please.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I would like to make a nomination for Tim Reardon.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Lisa and Tim, do you accept the nominations?
I would.
Tim?
Yes.
Vote first.
First vote goes for the first nomination.
All right.
First vote would be for,
All right, let's do a vote for Lisa as vice chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Or no? Is that just, what do I do? I'm trying to figure it out.
Just 3. Count how many votes are for her.
So there's 4? I think it was 4, wasn't it?
yeah.
Okay.
She gets
I
it.
think so.
Okay, Lisa, you are the vice chair. Election of clerk. Any nominations?
I'll make a motion that we have Nicole Colbert Dahl.
Do you accept that?
Well, okay, yes.
Well, is there any other nominations for clerk? I would nominate Brandy as clerk. Would you accept?
I accept, yeah.
Okay. First, we'll do a vote for Nicole Colbert-Dahl as clerk. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Treasurer, can I get a nomination? 4.4, can I get a nomination for treasurer?
I'll nominate Brandy.
Sure.
Okay. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Brandon being treasurer, signify by saying aye. Aye. Congratulations. Election, 4.5, elect alternate clerk. Can I get a nomination?
I'll nominate Jennifer.
Would you accept? Will you accept? Sure. Any other nominations?
I will nominate Tim.
Tim?
No,
No?
Jennifer.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of Jennifer being alternate clerk, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we should be set. Sets, 5.1, set salaries of board directors. Anybody have any? 2024 board members were reimbursed $300 a month, the vice chair $325, and the chair at $350. Board members serving on the negotiation committee received $50 for each session lasting up to 5 hours, and $100 for 5 sessions, 5 hours or longer.
That's what it is right now.
That's what it was last year.
I'd like to make a motion that we keep the board member reimbursement the same, but we change the negotiating team from 5 hours to 3 hours.
I would second that.
Any other changes? Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 5.2, approve Columbus Day as not a school holiday.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. 5.3, regular board meeting times and dates. We do the second and fourth Monday at 6 o'clock. Does that, want to keep it that the same, or?
I was just wondering, is there another one in December? Because it only shows one for,
We only have one in December and one in July.
oh, okay,
It's generally, we can call another one, but
okay.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to keep it the same.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let's see. 5.4, approval of ISD 2909 mileage rate at the IRS standard rate mileage at 70 cents per mile beginning January 1, 2025. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 5.5, designate school depositories, Friends' Bank and Trust, MSDLAF, Mintrust, and PMA, Miners National Bank, and First National Bank of Gilbert.
so moved.
Second.
Moved by Reardon, support by Westby. Any discussion?
You have to say what at Westby now, though.
No.
That's true.
That is true.
Yeah, good point.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Authorize the hiring of school attorney as needed basis, consider recommendation of Colosimo, Patchen, and Carney, Rupp Anderson, Squires, Waldsberger, and Ratfig, Rosick, and Maloney.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. 5.7, consider establishing a newspaper as a legal publication for the school board for 2025. We had Hometown Focus and Osaba Tribune last year, I believe.
I make a motion.
Okay, motion by Lisa,
Support Reardon.
support Reardon. Any discussion?
You mean to keep it the same?
Keep it the
Is
same.
that
Keep
what
it
your
the
vote
same.
is for?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wasaba Daily News are official, but we also use the Hometown Focus. Only because the Hometown Focus is weekly, and if we have to publish something more often, the Wasaba Daily News is 4 days a week for,
5.
or 5 or whatever,
Yeah.
for ads, so.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 5.8, consider allowing the superintendent and business manager to conduct wire transfer funds from Miners National Bank of Evelyn to Friends' Bank and Trust general account.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Reardon, support by Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 510, consider authorizing the school business manager and superintendent to make electronic, or did I just do that one? Did I say?
You did
It's a little
8, now we're
A
on
little bit
9.
different, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Wire transfer funds from First National Bank of Gilbert to Friends and Bank and Trust. Okay, get a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Leonard, support by Westby. Lisa, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Consider authorizing the business manager and superintendent to make electronic fund transfers.
Motion by Reardon.
Support.
Support by Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously. Consider authorizing the business manager to use current signature plate until new plate is secured if necessary.
So moved.
Motion by Lotiger,
Second.
support by Jennifer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Consider authorizing the school board members to attend in-state meetings.
So moved.
Motion by Reardon,
Second.
support by Lisa. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. 513, consider authorizing the superintendent to approve in-state travel requirements of employees during the school year.
So moved.
Moved by Lotiger, support.
Reardon.
Support Reardon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. 514, consider authorizing the superintendent to employ additional instructional, library maintenance, and clerical assistants as shall become necessary.
So moved.
Motion by Reardon, support.
Second.
Second by Bonner. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Consider resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore.
Reardon.
Motion by Reardon,
Support.
support by Lotiger. Any discussion?
Yep, discussion. I'm a little concerned. I think the board needs to be in this process of changing programs and positions. Can you,
It's it says make recommendations, so they're making recommendations to the board. So we still are a part of those conversations.
It's the
so it won't finalize with one person. It'll come to us.
Yeah, they're making the recommendations to the board.
Okay.
Any other discussion? This is a roll call vote. Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Culbertall,
Yes.
Director Johansson, yes. Director Westby?
Yes.
Director Westby?
Yes.
Director Bonner?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Consider approval of the Education Identity and Access Management Board Resolution naming Dr. Schmidt as the identified official with the authority for Rockridge Public Schools 2025.
So moved. Reardon.
Motion by Reardon,
Second.
second by Bonner. Any discussion? Hearing none, another roll call vote. Director Bonner?
Yes.
Director Westby?
Yes.
Director Westby? Yes. Director Johansson, yes. Culbertall?
Yes.
Director Lotiger? Director Reardon?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. 517, consider designating Dr. Noel Schmidt as the responsible authority under Minnesota Data Practices Act and Open Meeting Law for 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Lotiger, support by Culbertall. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 518 is just the committee membership sign-up form.
I'd like to make a motion that we send our preferences in an email to Chair Yuhan,
Okay.
and then you make the decisions on who goes where.
Okay.
Based on preferences.
That'd be great. I don't know if you guys get a blank copy of that or. And if we could have that back in, a couple of weeks, maybe by the next meeting, that'd be a good goal to.
Is there a certain amount that people sign up for? I mean, should you be on 3 or 2 or
That should be probably around 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
Whatever
3
you-
or 4 people on a committee is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking how many.
I would just list it in your preference.
Yeah,
maybe.
just list your preferences.
Yeah.
List your
Committees
preferences
can,
and,
it can't be 4, it would be a.
Right, right.
and John will work with Noel.
Yeah, knowing you might not get all of them, if everybody signs up for the same one, you may have to shuffle them around a little bit, but we'll fine tune it and get it back to everybody.
Okay.
But if we can get those back by the next meeting, I think that'd be a good goal. You can just email those to me. Okay, that is the end of our organizational meeting. I gotta adjourn that?
No, I don't believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you?
Okay, all right. Get a motion to adjourn the
I
organizational
will
meeting.
make that motion.
Second by,
I
motion by-
second it.
support by Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 23 minutes. We're doing all right. Kickoff's 55 minutes away. We're doing all right.
We missed the mentorship for new
Oh,
board members.
mentorship.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
How do we
shoot.
do that now? We already adjourned. Can we put it
He can
On the
go
in a
next
back,
regular
agenda.
meeting
he
or
can go back to it.
can he?
All right, go 519. That's my bad. Rookie mistake. Consider mentorship for new board members. I don't know what is. I don't have any.
What's entailed in that?
Just looking for new board members, is that what that is?
No, it's just for,
Like,
Helping them?
helping them answering questions, they can,
like, Jennifer came up and asked, do we bring our laptops to the MSBA conference? Things like that, those kinds of questions. And personally, I think that we can all answer those questions. So if anybody wants to call any one of us, board members, to get some of those answers, I don't think we necessarily have to have one specific person to go to. But if we want to have,
you guys want to know some bad habits? Pick me.
Just know it's an open up conversation to be able to ask for help.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's appropriate.
The only thing since we're doing this, is that you can ask one person, but you can't talk about anything that's on the agenda, or
That's true.
Right.
if you talk to me about something that's on the agenda, that's perfectly okay, but then you can't go to somebody else, because then it becomes a
Serial meeting.
Yeah,
Yep,
so, just,
yep.
okay.
Good info, Tim. Randy, thank you. 7, we can call to order the regular meeting.
What, 6:18.
6:18, can I get a motion to call the regular meeting to order?
Moved,
We should do the pledge.
yeah.
Not in here, but we should do the pledge.
Oh, yes.
Should just do that.
Yeah, let's do that. All rise and pledge of allegiance. Another rookie mistake. I'll get the hang of this, yeah.
You'll get the hang of it, you're doing great.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. I have one change
All right,
on the agenda.
did we call the regular meeting? We did.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that change? I got a note.
On the consent agenda, number 11, Claire's salary is changed to $23,005.41.
Okay,
And that's for, her contract is 87 contract days.
okay.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Support.
Support by Lotiger. Any other discussion on the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 9, recognition of visitor input. I didn't have anybody sign up. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Please?
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and guests. My name is Gwendolyn, and I am a proud sixth grader at North Star Elementary. As we begin this exciting new year, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of all the scholars to warmly welcome Director Westby and Bonner to the school board. North Star is more than just a school. It's a place of pride. Our motto is "Our School, Our Responsibility," where scholars take ownership of their learning and work hard to make the school safer, cleaner, and more welcoming. We hope that as board members, you will share with that pride and help us shine even brighter. To show you our gratitude and appreciation for your dedication, we'd like to present you all with a small token from the entire student body at North Star Elementary. Thank you for your time and commitment to making our school and our district a place where students can thrive. Welcome to the team and here's to a fantastic year ahead.
Thank you.
And dressed in Rockridge colors
Yes,
too.
perfect.
I like it. I like it. And just so everybody knows, they got t-shirts.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's why I ran.
Those things.
Anybody else in the audience would like to speak? Okay, moving along. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Reardon.
Motion by Reardon,
Support.
support by Colbert-Dahl. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving right along.
Holy cow.
11.1, ARY, Academic Return on Investment.
Now, members of the board, while Mike is getting, they'll be on, it's a Zoom call. This is, I mentioned this at the last board meeting, so they're gonna do a presentation, show you what they did. The reason why you're hearing this is because we're heading into the budget cycle update. So by the end of, no later than the end of June, you need to approve an official budget. And Andrea would love it if it's approved even before that. So she can start planning ahead. So you'll have a long series of meetings. You've clearly told me you want the whole board involved in this. There's no separate finance committee talking about this. So we will, and as part of it, we have these individuals, and Mike, are you hooking them up?
I haven't seen anyone join the meeting yet, so I'm not sure.
They haven't joined the meeting yet?
I haven't seen anyone in there. Yeah, I'm in the meeting, but I haven't seen
All right.
anyone.
Then, if they're not there, members of the board, I would suggest we skip them for right now until they're on.
Okay.
You forwarded it to him, right, Stacey?
Yes, and he said thank you, so.
Stacy, could you double check with them and, because.
We can come back to them if we can.
Yes,
back
we
to
can.
them.
I did, your first part of the meeting is going faster.
If someone joins the meeting, I'll make sure to let you know.
All right.
Okay.
Willie's in the track and starting gates there. 11.2, School to Work Engagement and Fundraising Updates, Willie Speltz.
Thanks, John. Members of the board, welcome. Welcome to the new members. Thank you for your time and commitment to Rockridge Public Schools. This is such a great place, and I look forward to you, everyone who is continuing, and everybody who is new to see even deeper into our programs and all of the great things that happen here. So thank you so much for all of your time. I know it's not for the money, that's for sure. So thank you. All right. And such a great opportunity to make a difference. I present quarterly is the best way to do it, so then Tim can't give me a hard time about going for so long every meeting that I'm here. But this one's going to be kind of long, so hang in there. It is also in your packet this time. There are such great things going on in our district. Most of mine will focus on the high school, as the principals there from the elementary will bring their stuff, but I work hand in hand with the high school as the director of School to Work Engagement, bringing companies in, getting our kids out for experiences inside our academy model, along with the fundraising that I do. So here we go. I attended a workshop in Mankato back in September focusing on career pathways, and we're trying to get those up and running at the high school. We have a medical one started, and we're also moving down the line for others. It was, this opportunity came along from the United Way of Northeastern Minnesota grant that we received, so it didn't cost us anything. And my partner, Jill Oja over there, she does a nice job of wanting us to, she tells me, make sure you tell them that it doesn't cost us anything, everything that we're doing, because we're doing it on campus. So thank you for that, Jill. She's great to work with. She is so many of these things with me. It's important that you know that. But That was a grant that we still have funds available. So then I went to White Bear Lake for another meeting. I'm in a real nice consortium now with all kinds of people in these career pathways, visiting new places, seeing what they're doing. And again, it isn't costing us anything. Thank you to SEPI for their donation of $34,000 to complete their commitment to the naming of the varsity softball field, SEPI Field at Rock Ridge High School. This completes their beautiful $100,000 commitment. And as I said, thanks to United Way of Northeast Minnesota for their $10,000 Career Pathway Development Grant. And thank you to the Essentia Health Community Grant for their check in the amount of $2,000 for the purchase of a Simple Susie Nursing Care Patient Care Simulator for our CNA class in conjunction with Mary Rantala, our instructor who submitted that grant, and they bought those for us. So thanks very much to the Essentia Health Community Grant process. Congratulations to our culinary students. Recently, back in the fall, our students participated in the Rotary Club Chili Cook-Off. John's dad is great at that. Students tested 4 unique chili recipes in-house before deciding on a pork chili verde. The students, along with some additional taste testers, agreed that they enjoyed the unique variation as opposed to a more traditional approach. The class was thrilled to be awarded the most creative in clubs and organizations division. So way to go, Jade Andre and all of our culinary students. Many times you'll hear me say this. We sent all of our, any interested 10th through 12th graders to the Minnesota Education Fair at the Minnesota North College. That'll come up many times we head to the Minnesota North College. Jill has a great report about all juniors and seniors wanting to learn more about the natural resources, forestry, and the equipment used in the industry were invited to a September field trip to the Itasca County Fairgrounds in Grand Rapids for the Future Forest Stewards North Star Expo. Students and staff learned that forestry in Minnesota is a $17 billion industry and provides more than 68,000 direct and indirect jobs. While learning about the exciting timber and forestry jobs in our area, they met loggers, truckers, and forestry professionals. It was incredible to see an active harvest and hear our students ask a lot of great questions. Our attendance at this event was supported by our True North Star Perkins funding. You'll hear that also. Our Perkins funds that Shannon Mulliver runs for us gives us a ton of money to go and do this stuff. It doesn't cost the district anything. And the Rock Ridge High School teachers, Greg Foster, Emily Jankala, Betty Parker, and Jill Oja, they did a great job going to that. So that was a good one. Our monthly meetings are up and running. I meet with Essentia every month for planning and creating our roadmap for each school year. And Essentia, you'll hear, planned an after-school event that went just great. Well done by Annie Bachschneider. And Essentia is a great support for us, especially with our CNA program. And that'll come up in a little bit. $5,778 from that True North Stars Perkins Consortium. Greg Foster applied for a grant and was approved to purchase a mobile base unit for industrial cabinet saws and a saw stop single-phase industrial cabinet saw. So thank you to the Perkins True North Stars Consortium. We took students to the Discover Healthcare back in the fall event in Duluth. A great event at the College of St. Scholastica. The students were introduced to the many people and careers in the medical fields, which needs people. If all of us want to be taken care of when that time comes, the healthcare industry needs people. So we're trying to attend to everything and get our students interested that may be interested or introduced to some that have never seen it. We also took kids to the Construct Tomorrow back in October at the Curling Club in Eveleth. It was a great event introducing our students to the many opportunities in the vast construction field. Another super great event. Our kids got to lay brick and mix concrete and try simulators. It was really cool. If you hadn't heard, I have some repeats in here, but I'll go quick. The Minnesota Supreme Court event that happened at Rock Ridge High School. Mark Winter was a superstar on that. I was lucky to be a part of some of the coordination. Special thanks to Judge Anderson and Judge Procaccini for prioritizing Rock Ridge High School for that event. That was really cool. Greg Foster's class back in September went out to Ely Lake and had races with student-built boats. That is on the front cover of what I sent out to you. The Rock Ridge engineering students spent part of their day at Ely Lake Beach. Students were challenged to build a boat out of tinfoil, wood lathe, and duct tape. Research design, buoyancy, and structural integrity were key elements of the design challenge. 6 boats in total were constructed, with 3 of the 6 being very competitive. Even though the timed races allowed students to use a kayak paddle, one of the boats was also designed to support a 1.2 horsepower outboard. In your picture, it was a great day at the beach with temperatures in the lower 80s in September. That was a really cool event for our kids. A nice $2,000 annual donation from Michelle and Bill Welch, who I got to meet during my fundraising time at the beginning of this entire project. Great people. Bill's an 86 graduate of Gilbert High School and has made significant donations to Rockridge Public Schools. Our Rockridge High School Ambassador Program is off and running. That's where I have the kids welcome our every Wednesday speaker for our career exploration class. That is a mandatory course taken by our 9th graders. Instead of me welcoming them, I find kids that Jill Clennon helps me find that would be good at it. And this year I have 3 kids doing that. They are doing a great job. Samantha Bardovich, Leo Johnson, and Will Peterson. They email the person. I get permission from their folks to be able for them to share cell phones and talk to the people to make sure that who's ever coming on the Wednesday to present all day, and thank you to those people for coming all day and making those presentations. And they stop in every period to see what they need. It's really a neat program, and we utilize them in other places too. We had a great manufacturing month in October. Manufacturers across Minnesota opened their doors to students, parents, and the public, helping to inspire and recruit the next generation of manufacturing talent, another incredible need. We went to 3 places that you can see in your report online. We went to GPM, Cirrus, and SCS Interiors, all 3 down in Duluth. We sent 3 busloads, and we went in different orders to those places. That was a great experience. That whole program is in the attachment. We had Shearing Speed Sports come. It's really nice. Steve Shearing does a nice job. And they came to Rockridge back in October. He's the owner, and brought team members to talk about their careers in snowcross racing and all other facets of the industry. Shearing Speed Sports is located in Aurora, and it's always good to see and hear from local people. Students from Foster, Fury, and Eichholz got to learn, listen, and experience this great industry and the machines. And we appreciate the $200 donation from Mr. Shearing to support our CTE department. We had an esports request come in from Mr. Conger at Rockridge High School, and Mark and I did everything we could to get that going, and it is. Josh Lampa was involved also, so thanks to everyone involved. Evelyn Elks gave a $500 donation. You can learn more about that in the handout, but that is up and running, and our students are participating. That's an interesting thing. Check that out. A while back, I received a call from a local family who had access to healthcare equipment and wanted to donate it to the school, so I spent a good 2-3 weeks continuing to go to a storage shed in Gilbert and brought teachers with me, and we were able to gather all kinds of stuff that we could use in our classroom. And then the stuff that we couldn't use, I contacted our partners at Minnesota North College, and they went and got some stuff for their EMR classrooms and their nursing courses. So that was a very nice job, and we appreciate community members that do that. What a great act of kindness from our community folks. Another grant application from Greg Foster, and he received a $5,000 grant for power tools. That comes from the Minnesota CTE grant funds that you'll learn more about John Engelking managing. So if you apply, look what happens. Maybe you'll get the money. So well done by Foster there. We had Essentia Health back in the fall have a whole entire day. They came to our school to talk about all of their lab work. Check it out in there. The students from Strasser, Parker, Ufford, and then Joe Oja and myself, they all, Essentia came and put on all kinds of lab stuff and working and trying to draw, blood from mannequins and everything. That was a great deal back in October about all the lab careers. Another field screaming for people, so I'm glad we're able to hit all of these fields. And the colleges were there. That was great. Another True North Stars Consortium grant awards in total of $15,515.98. Hammer received $3,400 plus, and he received another one for equipment and other field trips. He received another $2,700 for his DECA Regional and State Advisor Travel and Student Transportation. Foster received $1,000 for curriculum development, and he received $6,000 for another saw stop table saw and base. David Fury received $1,000 for the curriculum development in small engines, and Janine Bauman received $1,375 for the state FCS convention. So thank you again to our True North Stars Consortium. I'm sure along the way you'll hear a lot more about them. What a great group managing our Perkins funds. Thank you to W.A. Fisher for their second payment of $2,500 for the classroom naming rights for our graphic design classroom at Rockridge High. Thank you to the Golden Bear Foundation for their fall grants totaling $4,380.92. Our staff did a great job of requesting and a wide variety of our teachers, and we truly appreciate the Golden Bear Foundation for their efforts and great support of RRPS. Quick note to Stacy Lampa for her social media posts. If you're not checking those out, please do. She does a great job. We just send her stuff. I'm lucky enough to send her stuff, and next thing you know, it shows up on Instagrams and everything there. So Stacy, thank you for that. And also a shout out to Renee Pasal from WDIO, who's a Virginia graduate. And she does such a great job coming up here all the way to Rockridge and getting us out there and talking about all the great things. So all of this social media stuff is stuff I feel we need to do to market this great place, and I appreciate the help from everybody. A while back, I went with this fall, I went with Greg Foster and his building construction students to Hewlin Brothers for a tour of their plant in Virginia, and great conversations about employment and careers at Hewlin. Like I talked about, our 9th grade students are required to take a semester of career exploration. This semester, we had Essentia Health, U.S. Steel, Cargill, Virginia Police Department, Sundell Eye Associates, and Alexandria Tech, Cirrus Aircraft, Copen Peterson Law, College of St. Scholastica, Lundgren's, Northeast Minnesota Jobs and Trainings, Minnesota North College, SEH Engineering, Virginia Fire Department, Virginia Courthouse with alum Michelle Anderson, Minnesota Power with alum Mike Perla. Those are every Wednesday speakers that are coming, introducing careers and all the breakouts from those careers in their businesses. So thank you to all of them for coming and speaking to our 9th graders. Because we get so much, wonderful things from our community, I wanted to take a group of kids, and I found out there was another couple of teachers that wanted to take a group of kids to the United Way in Chisholm. So in November, we went there to volunteer and pack their buddy backpack program. 32 students from Rockridge High packed backpacks that are given to needy students in the area. Students from NHS and Leo clubs, Jill Clennon and August Galloway and myself all went, and that was a great way for our students to learn how to give back to our communities. Polaris came to the school to talk with interested kids about internships and opportunities with Polaris, a massive company looking for kids all the time, looking for workers all the time. Back in December, all 11th and 12th grade students were invited to join Fury's small engines class for a presentation on an internship with Polaris after high school. And then we had a follow-up presentation from Evelyn Gilbert alum Steve Arrow. That happened in December, and the students heard about even more opportunities at Polaris and the engineering profession. Thank you to Steve for coming and presenting. Steve works for Polaris and is the son of former Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia teachers Cheryl and Mike Arrow. We sent another group of 10th and 11th graders to Minnesota North for an open house. That was great. Job shadows. We're trying to get students out to do job shadows all the time so they can, learn what they might want to do or learn, I guess that isn't what I wanted to do, and have a couple of good stories. I'm going fast, I promise. Croy Colbert and Willa Roos attended a job shadow over break at DSGW, and a good story from Willa. She says, there is a lot to learn in architecture, but you don't know as much as you think. It is integrated with many more occupations like construction, electrical, or technical. Good skills to help this occupation include math like measuring and algebra. There are a lot of good classes offered to help pursue architecture like 3D modeling and building or AI-related classes, depending on what architecture you want to go into. Levi Flatley attended a job shadow at SEH Engineering, and thanks to Matt Reed for setting that up and working with us. And words from Levi that said that he started at SEH building and talked to Matt about schooling that Matt did and general stuff about engineering. He told me about the job outlook and that engineers are needed everywhere. Matt got called to help fix a problem at the new fire department, and I got to go with him and solve a water pipe problem. Then we walked around that building site and got to know how the building and engineering came into play. After the fire department, Matt took me to some other jobs his company helped with, including the bridge on Silver Lake and the road by Grandma's Restaurant. Got back to the building and got to talk to one of the newer employees who has recently come out of the program. And after lunch, Matt showed him what project plans were and how they estimate them. The whole experience was good, and I know a lot about engineering now. We had Kaylin Gruis attend a job shadow at OA right here on campus. And she said she had an awesome time and learned, but this one's funny, so pay attention. During the day, Miss Gilbert evaluated patients and prepared a lot of cortisone shots. On a typical day, she said she prepared anywhere from 10 to around 15. Also told me they're given to people and they aren't very good for your body. I also got the opportunity to watch the doctor give a shot. I figured I was all right around needles, but very quickly learned how uncomfortable they are. I walked out of the room afterwards and basically fainted. Despite this, I still had a great day. Miss Gilbert answered all of my questions and was very patient and extremely kind to me, as well as the rest of the staff. Thank you for helping me with this opportunity. She also said she is still going to pursue that career, even though she had that experience. So great things happening there. A very kind donation from the Choralaires, a local regional singing group for $1,350 in memory of Mr. Wayne Christensen. And that put us over the top to have the room dedicated. So there is now a very special thank you to the Choralaires. There is now a room dedicated to Mr. C at Rockridge High School. Thank you to everybody involved for that. What a great guy. Forever missed. We hosted, Jill and I, we hosted a Monster Apprenticeship Trades Expo at Rockridge High back in November. Over 1,100 students attended throughout the day. The goal is to expose our students to these professions and opportunities and hopefully inspire any interested juniors and seniors to make informed decisions regarding high school plans. A state apprentice speaker came to talk to our students about apprenticeships, and then students traveled throughout the building to learn and talk to over 40 booths representing the apprenticeships and trades companies. Our incredible new building was able to host this event with ease. So lucky for the new space. This was a fantastic event, and again, thank you to WDIO. They did a very nice job covering the event. We sent another 20 plus students to a technical career day and field trip at Minnesota North College. Allison Glade requested a meteorologist speaker, and I was able to reach out to Justin Lyles, and he came and presented to all of our ninth graders in the Performing Arts Center. A great day of learning from a professional in the field. They had just been studying weather patterns that aligned, so this aligned with their ninth grade science curriculum in atmosphere. This is a good one also. Mary Rantala's CNA class went on an on-site tour of Essentia in Virginia. A perfect complement to their CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant class that our students are taking. An update on our CNA students. 13 are taking the certification exam on January 22nd. They finished all the coursework, so we may be providing 13 new potential CNAs for the area. That is massively needed, so good luck to everybody who's taking that on January 22nd to become a licensed CNA. And the students were very impressed with the place. And then they have 16 currently registered for second semester, and they will take their certification exam in mid-May. So we could be coming up with whatever that adds up to, 29, 30 plus CNAs that were right here developing in our programs. A fun story, Jody, you might recognize some of these names. Tony Person, who's a PhD and a Virginia High School alum, he came and did a presentation to the science and engineering students. And this, I'm telling you, was a wickedly high-level presentation. And in chemistries and everything, because I saw Tony on LinkedIn, and I'll talk about him in a minute, but I talked to Mr. Strasser and said, if you ever want this guy to come and talk, please get a hold of me. And Mr. Strasser's like, yes. So Tony, he wrote a little bit about what he did. I have a nice presentation ready to discuss careers in biotech. I will give some background on my career journey and education, give background of what we do at Biotechny, give examples of how our proteins are being used to positively impact human health, and then I will discuss various career options for students with STEM backgrounds at both Biotechny and more generally in both biotech/pharma and academic settings. I'll bring some props to give students examples of. I mean, they're talking about curing Parkinson's, he was saying, in his firm. He was telling these kids all this stuff, everything that they're doing with just all these little things that they do. So that was awesome.
Can I interject for just
Yes.
1 second? I know you're on a roll and you're doing awesome.
Trying to go fast for you
You're
guys.
doing so good and it's so interesting, but I'll say specifically, my daughter listened
Saw her
to
in
that
there. Yes.
presentation and she was so impressed. So she's wanted, the pre-med route, but after seeing that, his presentation, she's kind of rethinking that. But what I love about it is that these kids are exposed to things that careers that they've never even heard of or knew existed. And I love that gives you just more of a broad idea that there's so many things out there that you can do. And I love that, and it makes it exciting. And she did tell me a lot about try to, and I was like, it sounds amazing. So, whoa.
And he's a VHS alum, and that's what makes it even more fun, just one of our kids. As you can see, I have an affinity to that. So, and that goes along with a beautiful donation from another VHS alum, Jeff Oakland, and his wife Holly. Jeff is a 1993 graduate from Virginia High School and an annual supporter of our #RockRidgeRising campaign. Truly appreciate Jeff and Holly for this ever so kind donation. And it's ironic that this comes after the Tony Person story, because I coached Jeff and Tony, and this is really close to me. Probably might have a hard time finishing. These are two of the greatest kids I ever coached in my life. And I have over 35 years now in coaching. And these two guys that I met when they were in 8th grade and I took them through 12th grade in summer baseball, they were absolutely phenomenal kids and I had so much fun. And they both went to St. Thomas and you just knew then that they were just going to continue to climb this ladder of both incredibly smart and just doing so well. But like I said, I met them and coached them for 4 summers and I knew then that they were going to do great things. So that was a lot of fun for me also. Almost done, folks. Hang in there. We will be hosting our professional mock interviews in conjunction with our career exploration class coming up here Thursday and Friday. I'm sorry that you guys can't make it. We'll try to schedule around it next year, but that is a great deal that Hammer and Ellison do. Our kids they're taught how to interview, taught how to dress. John, your dad's coming again for both days, all day. That is awesome. Cam Jason's coming. So we need 5 people. So we need 20 slots filled and we have about 19 right now. I think we're going to make it. And Jill or I think she left, but we can step in and do it too if we need to. But we like to give the kids the experience with professionals in the community, and that's a great day. So next time, maybe next year, we'll get you guys in on that. We got to get 190 students through in 2 days, so it's truly a great day. And weren't you there last year, Nicole?
I was at
the
sales one, or it was at the.
Oh, the sales pitches.
Yeah, the sales pitch.
Okay, I remember.
Which was awesome. I loved it.
Pardon me if I'm forgetting anybody else. A great donation from Pohaki, their annual installment regarding their naming rights. So thank you to Brandon at Pohaki, and you'll notice that our construction lab is called the Pohaki Construction Center. So thank you for that $8,900 plus donation from Pohaki. Great donation that we get annually from the Virginia Community Foundation for donations to the Wolverine Fund or the Education Fund. We have 2 funds inside the foundation. And Tim, I know you work really close with that, so thank you. I think you were probably a part of getting that started, Jennifer, back with Chuck Klinker and everybody when Molly was here.
Way back when.
Yeah, right around there, so thank you. This is an annual donation for the Wolverine Fund. We also get one for the Education Fund, but this one is recognizing the Wolverine Fund that exclusively supports Minnesota State High School League activities. A very special thank you to the Virginia Community Foundation and all of the outside donors that just every year give to that, and then we receive interest each year, a percentage of all of that every year. So thank you to Greg Gilness, is great to work with there. Tim Strasser's students again had a speaker back on Friday, January 10. They just got done with Tony Person, and they had another one, Rolf Weberg from the NRRI, National Research Soccer Ball, when you drive into Duluth, right? The University of Minnesota, that place. And there's one in Coleraine, and there's one in Zim. That was kind of neat to learn. They have spots where they're doing everything with that. So scientific research in general, specific research to what they are doing, innovative green steel process that uses hydrogen gas to separate the iron ore instead of fossil fuels. That was a great day also. And 2 more. I'm working and collaborating with Cirrus Aircraft out of Duluth. Ever since they came up and spoke, I've gone on tours with Foster's class down there. They're very, very much screaming for employees and quality employees, that they're talking to us as a pilot site and Duluth Public Schools. I'm working with Danette Sebo. She does the entire district of CTE in Duluth, and we want to be a pilot site for that so that we can get some type of an aviation pathway set up. And then after we're done doing all this planning, Cirrus will then seek a grant inside their program to help us maybe do that. So stay tuned on that. That's going to be awesome. And then scheduling and coordinating class reunions like I always do. So if it's anyone's reunion, that is a ton of fun. The VHS class of 75 just reached out. So a final little note, in just this 4th quarter, right, of the year, if anybody's in investments, the final quarter of 2024, this information prevents you $102,698.03 that I've successfully worked for and or collaborated on to bring to Rockridge Public Schools, along with thousands of hours of experience for our kids.
Do you know what your running total is so far since you've been in this position?
That's about that $2.97 million, and I can't wait to get to that $3 million. Can't wait.
Like I said, I appreciate that you did this write up because it gives information on what you're doing and what's going on in the school, and gives us a better idea everything that you do.
I agree, and then we
Thank
can
you.
go back and look at it too. I think this is.
Share it with anybody, and
Yeah.
if anybody ever has an interest in donating or coming to speak, just text me, call me, Willie, get a hold of this person, and I will.
It shows the public where we've deviated from the traditional classroom to
The
something
academy model.
a little bit more academy model. Thank you.
Questions? Good?
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Congratulations on your grandbaby.
Thank you.
I think we have our 11 ones.
Zoom already.
Yep, we'll go back to 11.1, a academic return on investment.
And board members, while Mike is quickly doing the last second things here, the purpose of this is they're gonna tell you what they do. This is unusual for a school to do this, but you might wanna do it. You have a cost proposal, it's around $15,000. What they do is they look for ways to save district money where the high value dollar things is. I'll let them describe it. So the question is, do you want to spend $15,000 to see if they can help you find $100, $200, or $300,000 worth of savings somewhere?
Are we making a motion on this evening?
You can either do it, or you can think about it and tell us next board
Okay.
meeting what you want to do.
Okay.
Well, hello all. Sorry that there was some confusion about when we were supposed to join and that you had to move the agenda around a little bit. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and to share with you the kind of work that we do, as Noel just described. Can you, first of all, before we keep going, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. I'm Dave McCallum. With my partner Patty Ross, who will introduce herself, have a background in education, as we both do. We're both in higher education, actually, for a couple of decades. We left that, went into different things. I went to work for some private sector consulting firms and for financial services companies. And after a while doing that, Patty and I went out together on a two-person research and consulting firm, and we've been doing that for 15 years. We serve a lot of different kinds of clients. Primarily, we work with mission-driven clients, people in education, people in healthcare, nonprofits, foundations, those sorts of organizations. And we generally focus on the business elements of nonprofit, of mission-driven organizations to help them become more efficient and effective. These organizations are almost always terrifically good at meeting their mission, but they often face challenges in how to maintain a sustainable business model while they're doing that. And that's a lot of the work that we do. Patty, do you want to just introduce yourself and maybe say anything else that I missed?
I think I'll just add a couple things about myself. I too had that background in higher education, as Dave mentioned. My background, however, is in education. It's in educational measurement evaluation. So I've spent quite a bit of time, not just in higher education, but also in K-12 systems, looking at programs. But as Dave will describe, what we're proposing here, I was doing something very different, which you probably all are more familiar with, which is sort of looking at particular programs. You know, how is your advanced placement program working for you? How is, you know, whatever the programs that you might have engaged, how are they working for you? And doing those evaluations. And so have sort of a lot of background in doing that, but also doing it similarly. It's similar questions for a lot of nonprofits that we work for. So one example is I do a lot of work with Meals on Wheels. And so, you know, how is their program working? Are they meeting the goals that they have given that the money they're spending? So that's what my background looks like coming to this.
Great. So I'm going to pull up a presentation and sort of briefly talk to you, give you a sense of what we're doing. But please, before we do that. I don't want to railroad through stuff. If you guys have questions or observations or anything like that, so you can either, just yell out and we'll hear you, or, use the chat function or something like that. But if are there any questions at this point, or should I just pull up the presentation?
Go.
I think you can proceed.
Go ahead.
Yep.
All right. There we go. See, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so our firm is called McCallum Ross. We work with Hopkins Public Schools to help them do this work, and we develop the approach by working with them. And here's Patty and myself, but there's also pictures of people from Hopkins that we work with, Ann Ertl and Abby Holm, who are basically our main clients there. And what the situation there was that they were facing budget constraints. They had a lot of programs that they had added to their offerings over the years, but their budget situation changed. And so they were trying to figure out, was there a data-driven and objective way to determine which programs were best serving their needs? And given that, to sort of decide which ones to keep and which ones not to keep. You could also, even if you weren't facing a budgetary constraint, just want to do a program audit. You might want to, think, oh my God, we got money, but, maybe we don't want to be doing all these programs for different reasons, or we want to be able to assess the value of our program. So it doesn't have to be driven by budgetary concerns, but it quite honestly often is, this sort of work. If you look, this work, by the way, is referred to as AROI. So it's taking from the business notion of a return on investment, or an ROI, but instead of looking at a financial return on investment, the idea is to look at the academic return. So what are the things that you're getting of academic value to the district or to the school? And, is what you're getting, the academic return, is it worth the investment that you make? Because you have to pay for these programs. What this slide shows is that a contrast between typically how people do program assessment, or AROI, and what we're doing. When we developed this with Hopkins, we did a lot of work looking for other approaches to AROI. And what we found is that not only is there nobody in Minnesota who is doing that this way, but nationally even, we couldn't find anybody who's taking this approach. In fact, what else everybody seems to be doing, and there could be someone we missed, that's always a possibility, but we looked pretty carefully, and what everybody seems to be doing is focusing on a particular program and seeing what's the value that you get out of it. Well, that's fine if you care about AVID, or if you care about AP or something like that, but if you want to compare programs, you have to be able to assess multiple programs at the same time. Usually, there's a lot of additional data that is required that has to be collected to do a typical program assessment. Instead, we designed our approach that you use pre-existing data that the district has, that schools already have. So that's a difference. In the typical approach, there is no way of looking to see whether or not the particular program, how it plays against the goals that a given district has. For us, we designed the thing so that the notion of academic return is defined explicitly in terms of what are your goals as the district. Because not all districts have exactly the same goals, and if you want to be able to say, okay, are we meeting, are we getting a good academic return? Well, it's got to be in terms of what your goals are. So we explicitly build that out. Again, most other approaches don't really look at indirect financial costs. They just look at the costs associated with you're buying a service, or you're renting a service, or you have a subscription or something like that. Instead, we have a way of including an estimate of the indirect financial costs, because those are very important for a district. Basically, most other people who do this come in from the outside, they do the work, they do very good work, but then they just give it to the district, here's the results, here's the outcome. Instead, we actually work with the district staff throughout the whole course of this to build their expertise, and so that they're the ones who are developing the results as we go along. Because our goal isn't really just to come in, do an analysis or an assessment and give you the answer. It's to work with you to help develop an answer that you guys are looking for to your particular questions. And the bottom thing is really critically important, is that the usual approach is, because it's particular program by particular program, hasn't got built into it structurally a way of comparing different programs. But that's explicitly what we built with Hopkins and what we've since refined, and would, if we were to work with you guys, what we would do you guys. I mean, you want to be able to compare, AP and IDB and your Spanish immersion and Avid and whatever it is that you're using, math preparation programs. You want to actually be able to compare them, even though they're doing very different things. Because when you're funding them out of a pot of money. And you want to know how best to use it. So that's a comparison of the approach of some teachers of the approach versus the way that people typically do it. I want to emphasize, by the way, this is not meant as a criticism of the people on the left, right? They're just doing a different kind of thing, right? They're doing a detailed, articulated assessment of a one given program, not comparing a whole bunch of different programs, looking at a comparative academic return on investment. So it's just a different kind of approach. The next slide talks about being utilization focused. Here, the important thing is that a utilization focused approach is, we do it with you. Patty, did you want to, I couldn't tell if you were gesturing.
I just wanted to jump in because, this was something that is near and dear to my heart, but it's really, as Dave has already pointed out, there's, working, people would just come in and do the work for you, but in doing this work, the way that we really approach it is to find those key people in your district who we work together with. We walk through what we're doing. We iterate on potential answers, models, ways of doing this the first time through, and then provide at the end of that process a model that your staff, whoever has been involved in this project along the way, can use themselves and continue to refine year after year. And we're, of course, available to support that use in the future, but the goal really is to turn it over to the people in your district to use themselves. So that's the basic, simple idea behind that.
Yeah, to go back to the old, I guess it's biblical reference, we don't give you fish, we teach you how to fish. Basically, that's the sort of approach that we're trying to take here. In the process of working with us, because the way that this model works is that we need to work very closely with district staff to determine, what counts as a program and what the goals are of doing this analysis, and what it is that you're trying to achieve, what the goals of the district are, how do we structure all of that. Once we do all of that, that's the first step, we create a first draft. Because we're doing an analytical model, and I can pull that up to show you, it's a fairly simple spreadsheet that we use and that we hand over to you guys at the end of the day. But the idea first is to do it with a small set of programs, right? To see how the whole process works, right? get people used to the idea of thinking this way, what the data looks like, what the outputs are going to look like. And once we iterate on that and people get comfortable, then we refine the model and we run it on the full set of whatever your target programs are. Maybe all the programs you have, some subset of them that are of particular interest to you. And as I said, we work with you, we refine it, and at the end of the day, hand off the model to you guys for you guys to continue to use for yourselves. And as Patty said, we're always happy to get re-involved if you want guidance or future support. But that's the basic idea. I think this slide probably repeats a lot of what I just said. Yeah. The other thing I want to say though is the bottom bullet point on the right is kind of important. As I said, we've worked for 15 years with a lot of different kinds of organizations. And before that, in different jobs and roles that we've played as consultants, realized that really what you're doing is you want something that you can use to engage your stakeholders, right, in the making of decisions, right? So we want to work with you guys in the course of this to figure out how to do the analysis and develop the communication materials, the outputs, all that kind of stuff, that it's actually valuable to you in your context. Because any kind of fancy analysis or anything like that is of no good whatsoever if it can't be used to convince the people that you want to convince that you're making a good decision. So that's something that we're very aware of and we're cognizant of and focus on from the beginning. I think that's the end of this. Let me I will see if I can do this. If I just click on this, does the spreadsheet show up there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just a quick sample of what the model looks like, which is built in a spreadsheet. You have a whole bunch of programs here. They're labeled in column B, A through AA. This example was taken from Hopkins, where they identified, as you can see, 7 different goals that they're trying to achieve. Some of them were academic, some of them were technical and other. And then there's inputs in columns J and K about the fiscal program cost, so that's the direct cost of the program. And then some non-fiscal costs, that's what we referred to before as indirect costs. Then you look at numbers of students, because you want to know how many students you're serving with a program, right? So students actually in the program, then you have the total costs, and so on and so on. And you end up in column O with something we call this is like real economist type talk, but it's basically the output. It's the student academic return per dollar spent. So this is your AROI, right? What academic return, and it's just a number, right? And it ranges here, as you can see, from 2,000 down to 23 for these different programs. So having a return of 2,000 is way better than having a return of 23. And that's an example of basically these programs at the top with these very high numbers are really doing a lot to help Hopkins reach their academic goals that they've defined for every dollar that they spend, right? Whereas these programs at the bottom are not really doing them very much good at all. These are the ones that it's not that they're doing nothing, but for the money that's being spent, they are not producing very much. And the rest of the columns here are different ways of revising this and refining it, that sort of thing. But this is the basic idea that at the end of the day, you will get, and this is just the number of programs they looked at here, and you could have 100 of them or 10, it doesn't matter, a way of assessing against your goals. They're not going to be the same as these goals here in over here, but whatever your goals are, however many students you serve, whatever the costs are, a way of ranking the return, the value to you of these programs. And given that, you can make an assessment, like Hopkins did, of which programs might be worth keeping or which ones you can discontinue because you're just not getting as much return as you want. The last thing I'll just click on here, this, and you've probably seen this because it was in the proposal, this is a timeline, a first approximation of an 8-week timeline to do this project with you guys. And the phases that are laid out here are the same ones that we just talked about before in the presentation. We collect the initial meetings, collect the data, build an initial version of the model, expand the model, and then come up with some final findings and ways of presenting it. We just call it here at the bottom your AROI dashboard, and we can we develop that with you for whichever way is most useful for the uses that you're putting the analysis to. All right, that was a lot of words. I'm going to stop now. Let me stop sharing. I can reshare if anybody wants to see anything, but I'd love to get any questions or reactions that people have.
I guess I have a couple questions. I guess I'm confused by that academic return, like how you gauge that, like what does that mean exactly in the, like by your, and what are, could you give me an example of goals or like what does that mean, that number?
Well, yeah, then this number is going to be higher because this is a program that's really contributing to your goals and it's serving a lot of students, right? So this number is a combination of how much a given program contributes to your goals and how many students it's serving, right? The other factor in there is per dollar spent, right? So if you get a lot of contribution, a lot of value for your goals, and you're serving a lot of students, but it's an incredibly expensive program, right, then that number will not be as high as a program that is also meeting all your district goals, serving a lot of students, but is modestly priced, right? So it really is, it's indexed to, right, how much it's costing you to get that value. And the value is defined in terms of two things, the contribution to your goals and how many students you're serving. Is that helpful or is it too abstract?
It's more helpful. Can you just give me a couple examples which goals would be or, what that would look like?
Okay, so for example, if you could have a goal of helping students achieve or meet the state standards in the math standards, right? Is this a program that helps with that, right? Or you could have, graduation, right, on time or something like that. Those could be examples of goals. They're things that you define that you are trying to achieve as a district. Patty, did you want to hop in there?
Yeah, I just want to jump in. As it turns out, this getting people to talk about their district goals and to actually articulate what they are, how important they are to them, and to not play them off of each other, but to consider them at the same time is perhaps the most difficult part of doing this work. And we found with Hopkins, we sat down for quite a while with them and they have graduating on time, they just had I can remember at one point, looking at close to 30 goals that they were juggling at the same time. And so it was really sort of stopping to ask them, what are your main district goals that you're working with? You want to graduate all of your students on time. You want them to meet state standards. You want them to be, ready for jobs. What are those goals that you have? And once you get through that hard part of this process, then it's really a matter of looking at each program and how it contributes to those particular goals. I don't know if that helped.
No, that did. Thank you.
I have a quick question. So with that Hopkins, can you hear me?
Yep.
So with Hopkins, you were showing their spreadsheet, they went down from multiple goals down to like 7? Is that what you're saying? They refined it down to 7? Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep, they had to keep looking at those. I mean, we could have produced a model with all, I don't remember the exact number, Dave, but it was like 28 or, close to 30. We could have done that, but it would have just been this, I mean, it really helped them to sort of focus their, what it was they were concerned with, the kinds of decisions they wanted to make with this model. They really worked through why they were doing this in order to identify the narrow number of goals that they did.
What was most important to them?
Exactly,
right.
That's right.
Now, members of the school board, this is Noel, the school superintendent, Dave and Patty. Members of the school board, you have a document. You have the strategic plan that has a whole bunch of goals, goal areas. So that would be a big document. We would, if you said yes, we would be looking at, because you have a whole bunch of areas under there that you've already identified as goal areas.
Right, absolutely.
So how many high schools have you worked with then and been, like in Minnesota specifically? Like, is that, because you said you worked with other entities or other businesses, or is it?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, on this particular project, this was developed with Hopkins. I mean, on doing the academic return on investment, it was developed with Hopkins, and then Dave and I sat down and have developed a sort of way of doing this with other districts. So as far as the AROI for school districts, Hopkins. We have done other return on investment work with other nonprofits in the past, but as far as this work is concerned, yeah.
So and we've worked with other school districts on other kinds of projects before as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the school situation, would you be going anywhere from looking at a class to looking at the behind the scenes programs like you mentioned, AVID? So it would be a whole, you'd spread the net over everything. The behind the scenes, the front classes, extracurricular activities, everything.
Right, exactly. Whatever things that you guys want to have analyzed for their academic return on investment. And so one of the key things in here that we mentioned is that we aren't going to go and ask you to produce new data to do this analysis. Our understanding when we work with Hopkins, and this fits with what we've done before in our work with other school districts, is you guys actually have a lot of data already, right? You have a lot of data about your programs. You've also got a lot of expertise about programs and how well they work, whether or not they're successful, which ones are implemented well, which ones are not implemented well, all that sort of stuff. And it's that kind of existing data and existing expertise that we were going to use to sort of fill into the analysis, because to go back to individual schools and things like that and start collecting more data, then you're talking about months and months and months of work for every program, right? And that's not going to help you answer the question, because what we're actually, you can think about it, what we're trying to do is provide a structured way to take all of the knowledge and expertise that you already have, right, and think about what the implications of it are, or whether or not your varied set of programs is actually giving you what you want, whatever, meeting your academic goals. I don't know if that answered your question.
I have a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
It looks to me like your plan says that it would take like 8 weeks to do this process, the phase 1, 2, and 3. So looking at if we had to change some of our programming because we're not happy with our return, this would happen for next year if we're gonna change some programming. Would this change like for the next year after? Because this data, we wouldn't have the information.
Well, I can probably answer that one. This would be useful for your budget cycle, which is now. From now until, you have about 2 or 3 months to start narrowing in the focus and make decisions on how things are gonna go. So when I'm thinking about this for you, I'm thinking next year, that we'll be able to do this. And I had another meeting with them. We can do this. You have a lot of employees who are so excited to do this. They don't know they're so excited about yet, but they will be excited that we can do a lot of this and have a lot of this done by March 1st-ish. So you can start maybe a little later. So you as a board can start taking a look at that and telling us what you want to do with some of these programs and on the budget-wise go. So I'm thinking this will be useful for next year.
But you, like Noel, you and your admin would be giving us the cuts for teachers, administration, correct? We would get that besides this information?
You would get that in addition to this information. So you get both. This is a more detailed look than what many schools do. And so that's why I'm bringing it to you, even though they've only worked with one district. This is not normal what most districts do. But I think this would be, my opinion, very useful for you and for us to look at when we're comparing programs, because ROI is big in the business world. It's just not common in the education world. So between what we're going to suggest to you and then what they're going to come up with theirs, I think you're going to have a way more wealth of data than what board members normally would have.
And it can also help admin in making those
Oh,
recommendations.
absolutely.
It might supplement or give, if they make a decision to cut or add to a program, this might add the reasoning why we should do it, if we do choose to do this.
Have you seen a history, whether it's healthcare, nonprofit, whatever, in saving job positions by doing this and getting rid of frivolous things that we think are helping? And like example, in our case, we don't want to lose teachers. We'd rather maybe lose a program that we're not hardly using. For an easy example, I mean, we want to hold on to our teachers and keep their jobs.
Right. I think absolutely. I mean, I think if, the way that we sort of think of programs are things that are not, that you are paying third parties for, right? You're paying outside organizations to provide you with these programs, whether it's buying them or by subscription or whatever the form is. And if you are putting money out the door, right, to these outside organizations, and you decide you don't need to spend all of that money going out the door, then it's more available to you for inside the door. So that could be staff. It could also relieve some of the pressure that might occur on whether or not you think you need to cut staff. I mean, one of the things that Hopkins, this analysis that we did for them, it saved them about $250,000. And, they're a big district, and I know that's a small portion of a very big budget that they have, but that's still a considerable amount of money. I think it also, what it did, and to your point, is it started, I know because we've talked to Ann and Abby since, they're now all excited about the possibility of doing this kind of analysis in a regular way to look at the expenses or the budgetary implications of programs versus the budgetary implications of staff and resources, facilities within the district. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, because I need, handbook for dummies. I need to know, so you're saying programs the same as courses, right? Like, or is that something different?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I'm not getting it.
Sorry, I just said no. I mean, I'm thinking of a program as anything that you pay an outside organization for, right? So it's not the same thing as paying your teaching staff to teach a course in history or in English or mathematics, right? I don't think of that as the program. That's part of your core curriculum being offered by your teaching staff. Now, they may use program materials to supplement their courses that they're offering, but it's, again, when we talk about programs, we're talking about things that you have that you pay an outside organization for.
Like the math pro, like the,
IXL.
yeah.
Yes, okay. I'm just, like he said, Hopkins is very big. I can see the benefit of what you do. I like it. What I'm concerned about is that we're a small, how many programs do we have to look at? Like, how
You
many?
have a lot. Now, keep in mind, Hopkins isn't that much larger than you. 3 times, maybe?
That's kind of
I
big.
know, but you have some programs that Hopkins also has.
Okay.
You have stuff they don't have, but they have stuff, it's goes. It's, maybe you don't find $250,000 here. Maybe it's only 100,000, but is that worth something to
Well,
you?
right, that would be a benefit, absolutely.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I want to guarantee that we're going to be saving money.
And then frankly speaking, members of the board, you hear impassioned pleas from certain individuals for all sorts of different programs. Wouldn't you like some actual data and information behind it to
That's true.
support your thinking when you're making decisions about what to do?
Absolutely.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
for sure.
Yes, thank you. That makes more sense.
And that's a great point. And let me just emphasize, it's data that allows you to compare different programs in an objective way, defined in terms of your own district goals, right? It's what you guys are trying to achieve and whether or not those programs that you're talking about help you to achieve them. So it's, I think it can be very compelling in that way.
And we're looking at, so if we decide to do this, you're looking at the district as a whole, or just the high school, or I'm assuming the district, correct?
It's up to you.
Okay.
What do you want the scope of it to be? Yeah. Sorry, Patty.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, it's sort of a theme that is running through your questions, and I just wanted to emphasize, Dave said it's what you pay an outside organization for, but I think, Dave, that wasn't quite entirely right. I mean, even Hopkins considered things that they had created sort of like special entities. So they had a Chinese immersion program, like a whole extra program on top of, everything else they did in the district. And the district itself was funding this Chinese immersion program. And they threw that in the mix. They were like, yeah, we need to look at whether we're getting a return on investment for that. And that was, their own internal kind of part of their own internal budget that they were just slicing out of that system. And so it's really the things that you feel are I keep using the word program, but any entity, anything that you're spending budgetary money on that's beyond your sort of regular curricular activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions for them?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Any more discussion on 11.1?
Shoot, I had it. I had something in my head. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I think even if we broke even, 15,000 to 15,000, if it was a wash, and they got, it sounds like a good thing.
From the outside looking at the inside of us.
Would it stay at 15,000? Is it going
That's a
to,
good question.
is it going to go up? Because they.
No, they gave you a bid.
That's
So
their bid.
if you say yes, that's what they're going to charge you.
Oh, okay.
So, Dr. Schmidt, did you contact them, or did they find you? How did that work? Just curious.
I heard about them, then they had a webinar that I listened in on, and it sounded interesting, so then I had another meeting with them and talked to them. And based upon prior conversations with board members about, and I knew we were going to a big budget item, and this is seemed like the kind of thing you might be interested in.
Okay, so I'm assuming most of our programs are like in the high school, in the high school. Would you be able to just like throw, like they said, like throw like, hey, but could you look at the elementary, this specific program or whatever?
If you say yes,
yeah,
I would suggest the board look at K-12, all of the programs, look at everything. We can look, because your strategic plan has a lot of stuff in there. And you can certainly participate in the creation of what those major goal areas are, that we do the whole everything.
And I feel like staff has been asking for us to look at this as well, because, we don't want to get rid of teachers. So I think that staff is also looking for what programs are benefiting us, what ones aren't, where are we putting money where we don't need to be.
And we can put for quite a while.
And we can put it all.
And chances are really reasonable that we've got a program here doing the same thing that this program is doing because it was sold to us by whatever to fix this. And so I think it would be advantageous to clean house with somebody taking another look at it myself.
Anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Lisa, support by Lotiger. Any more discussion?
I'd just like to make sure that this includes administration. I don't know what kind of program we put that under, but I'd like to know our return also with our administration.
That's not part of it though, is it? Or
Well,
no?
we can though.
Okay.
They'll do what we say, and
Okay.
what we can do as part of that is how much money you're spending on admin. Okay, and then we can break it down and you can take a look at it, how much per pupil, et cetera. We can probably compare it to some other districts and then show you the data too. But
And
yeah,
actually, to piggyback off of what you just said, for all of us to be involved in the process of it, not just, vote on it, but to be literally like even on the budget part of it, yeah. So we're all aware of all the jot and tittles.
Good. Good discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else to add? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 11.3, Parkview Elementary Principals Report with Sheena.
She's only had 2 birthdays since she's been waiting.
Hey, that's okay. I promise I won't be as long as either of my two kids. No. Good evening, board members, and welcome to our 2 new board directors and our returning board directors. Things at Parkview are going phenomenal. We wrapped up the holidays. I just have to say the amount of community and family things that my staff and the students did, either out in the community or bringing people in, was phenomenal during the month of December. I mean, it was nice to see people coming in. It was nice to see our students going out and performing and seeing the people in our community as well. So I want to give them a kudos for that. We got back from break and started right away with our benchmark testing. And as you know, most of you know, FastBridge is our new benchmark testing. It's through Renaissance. It's the same company, but it's a different test that came out of our READ Act. So it's new to us, and of course, with change, there's always some, angst. But the teachers and staff have been handling that well. I'm excited to see that data, knowing that there's going to be a learning curve for us when it comes to the data, but excited to see that. So we're in the middle of that testing. We are currently planning for our I Love to Read month. February is I Love to Read month, so that's coming up. I'm trying to plan some fun things, but I know I don't get back here as often when we do our rotation as principals. So I wanted you to know that we have some fun things coming up there, and I'll update you when I come back on how they went. Today, we have a first grader at Parkview who is unfortunately very ill, is down in the Children's Hospital in the cities, currently on a ventilator. So very ill with pneumonia, and his family is traveling back and forth. We have other students in our district, and we did a hat day at Parkview for this little first grader. And we just told students if they wanted to wear a hat today that they could donate $1 and wear a hat. Of course, we had some students that still wore hats and didn't donate $1. We just want everyone to participate. But our Parkview families, our staff, and our students really came through. We collected $900 for this student. So super excited to share that with the family. I called the mom, and I have not heard back from her because I'm sure she's in the midst of traveling and doing all that. Back and forth from the cities, but we'll hand that over to them to help with some of the costs of travel and meals and things like that. So I know that North Star did it as well. I haven't heard from Scott on how that went, but I'm pretty excited with the results of that. We do have our ECFE in our ECFE world. Our winter trimester just began. We do have a literacy special coming up for early childhood family ed classes. That's going to begin on January 31st. So it's a quick 4-week literacy thing that Shannon Cush has added to that. So that's exciting things coming up for our littles. And then our VPK application is due by the end of the month. And I know that that's a hot topic of discussion when it comes to our administrative team. And I'm sure some of you will be hearing from us when it comes to that, because our early childhood 4-year-old program and our 3-year-old program did some major changes this last year, and I think we need to look at that again with you as a board. So that's coming down the pike. Looking forward to those conversations as well. And then lastly, I know this is not part of my discussion, but it's coming up later on your agenda. I believe it's 12.2. There's a family service collaborative, the St. Louis County Family Services Collaborative grant that Parkview was awarded, that we're asking that you consider accepting tonight. Just to give you a little, so I don't have to come back up for you, a little synopsis on that. That is a grant that we went out for specifically for Parkview. If you remember, we do have Check and Connect mentors within our district already. We have 4 of them. 2 are at the high school, 1 is at Laurentian, and Parkview and North Star used to share a Check and Connect mentor. Back up a year or so ago, I want to say it was a year and a half maybe, I was playing nice in the sandbox, and North Star had some pretty significant needs. So I said, you know what, Parkview will be okay. Why don't you take the Check and Connect mentors full time? And it has worked very well for Scott over at North Star. Nikki's done a great job with Check and Connect. Fast forward a year now, we just had some needs that we felt we could use some more support staff for, and Check and Connect, that void wasn't full. And so we went out for this grant. And we're awarded it, provided that you accept that, to bring a Check and Connect mentor back to Parkview. That grant would cover the remainder of this year and all of next year, just like our other buildings within the district. So that's what that grant is all about. Any questions for me?
Any question for Sheena?
No.
Great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheena.
11.4, Superintendent, Dr. Schmidt.
Members of the school board, you have 2 documents, but before I do that, MSBA. We have MSBA coming up. Members who are watching this, every year the school boards have one big gathering. It's down in the Twin Cities. This is the only time the board has a conference together. It's a great place. They get to see other board members, talk to other board members, hear what's going on in other parts of the state. First of all, is everybody registered and got everything else? We're good to go with that? Okay. And thanks, Stacy, for making arrangements for
Yes,
super
thank you,
duper,
Stacy.
back there. You have 2 items on your doc. These are for your reference only. The first one is the Minnesota School Finance Guide. I give that to you. Every year they publish one out. It says for politicians. It is a good way for you to get, especially if you're new, how Minnesota school finance works. People who are in accounting and business who go work in school finance will tell you this is way more complicated than anything businesses have to do. because of the categorical funds that you can't spend on different things. So this is for your reference only right now. When we get into the budget season, where I'm sure we'll be talking more about it. The second one, which is a Minnesota School District referendum report. It's a shorter one. This one is only 30 pages, they're so long. That says all of the districts in the state of Minnesota. You can look it up to find out how much are they bonding their citizens for, how much are they levying their citizens for, which ones passed, which one didn't. And that's a good document to look at as a reference because you can compare Rock Ridge to other districts in the state. And the biggest thing you'll notice on there is that in some districts, their taxpayers are paying a lot of money. In other districts, the taxpayers are paying way less money. And a big contributor for that is how wealthy the school district is. What's the property value? How many big businesses do they have in the area? So you can take a look at there, and you'll notice that Rock Ridge, compared to almost everyone else, it's very low, the impact on the local taxpayer. But that's just for your reference when we start talking about the budget some more. And we'll be talking about those later, and that's, unless there are any questions from board members, that's all I want to make you aware of tonight.
Any question for Noel?
No.
Okay, moving on. 11.5, Treasurer's Report. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Reardon, support by Lotiger. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Admin 12.1, consider approval of the Rock Ridge School 2025 course registration handbooks for grades 7, 8, and grades 9 through 12. Hi, Mark.
Good evening. In your packet, what you actually have three documents. Two of them are the actual handbooks. One's the 7th and 8th grade. One is the 9 through 12. You also have a cheat sheet, so you don't have to go through page by page and compare one to the next. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go over the cheat sheet here quick, just so you can see what changes we've made. Because we are, and it looks like we're dropping a lot of courses. In a way we are, and in a lot of ways we're not. All of the English courses that are listed are just, it's reshuffling what we're doing in English. Before we tried to have these English courses go to each academy, and what we ended up doing is creating singleton classes, and it's become a scheduling nightmare. We basically get kids locked into certain schedules. In some cases, they can't get an English course. Other cases, they can't get the electives they want. So we're backing off on it a little bit, and the English teachers have created new courses, which are the English courses on the right side. And the way they're still going to meet some of those requirements and some of those things in the academy models is to, during their projects, is to gear their projects and have students pick kind of which academy they're in and gear their project toward that academy. So they're still going to touch on it, but that way we can level off kind of the class sizes and things like that. You'll also see a lot of courses in here that will say are being cut. They're not really being cut. They're going to run 26, 27. Those are courses that we are running every other year. If we run them every year, typically we don't have enough interest to run them every year. But if you run them every other year and let students know, then you will have enough on that every other year. And then there are opposite courses that go with those. So if you look at, some of these, like some of the health classes, some of the housing, some of the social studies, actually the social studies they're not running at all. But the intro to millwright, we ran this year, won't run it next year, we'll run it again the following. So those are kind of the types of things we're doing. We'll do similar things with some of the science classes moving forward. You don't see the science classes on here right now because there are new classes and they're going to be running 26, 27. Down a little ways, you'll see recreational fitness and advanced fitness. That's just a name change. It's our unified PE classes. I believe we talked about that at an earlier board meeting, bringing in regular ed students with some of our special ed students and having them in the same class where you have kind of student mentors and student peers working. So unified PE is it's a title. and it's a program. Doesn't cost anything, but that's what this program is. So really to make it more known as to what it is, it's a unified PE. So it was a name change. And then there's several co-taught classes that are special ed classes. Co-taught being we have a special ed teacher in with the regular classroom teacher. We typically we haven't run this as a co-taught because there's just not enough students in that co-taught class to make it cost effective. And it can be done if there's just 1 or 2 students, we put a paraprofessional in the room rather than a teacher. So you'll also notice that a lot of those are well, either math or they're upper level classes where we have experienced teachers that are trained in those upper level courses where the special ed teachers are more general, broad knowledge. And so rather than, in some cases, almost waste their talent in a co-taught class, let's put them in classes that their specialties are and really use what their gifts truly are. So the other question that I'm sure would come up, you'll see some honors classes in 7th and 8th grade that we're looking at eliminating. Last year, we didn't get enough interest for one in the 7th grade. The other problem we're running into is we're not necessarily getting students that are signing up for honors classes. It's becoming, all of them are the same class anyway, because there are some students that are taking the honors class that aren't quite at that willingness to put the extra effort in what it takes to be in an honors class. We also have other students that are in regular classes that should be in the honors class, but they're not. And we really don't have a good way of determining who that is because it is student choice as to which classes they take. So what's ended up happening, we'll have students that they're really struggling in an honors class and we have nowhere to put them like at semester right now because our other class sizes are so large. So this, by not doing it, will help balance the class sizes. So again, the other new courses are added. And again, you'll see, and I just added comments, so most of them are either name changes, a couple of special education courses that are needed. And then 2 that aren't in there yet that we sent the booklet to Stacy before they were updated. One is a digital photography and one is a basic ceramics. And these are both CIS courses. So it would become part of our CIS course offerings where students could stay on our campus and get their fine arts credit rather than going PSEO and getting them at Minnesota North if that's what they chose to do. A couple other changes. If you look through the guide and really want to go through page by page, you'll see there's a few course numbers that are missing. Those are some of the new courses. They just haven't been put in PowerSchool yet. They actually were as of this morning. So those will just be added. It's just additional course numbers. And then the other thing that we would like to add to the course handbook that really has just come about in the last 3 days or so is in the PSEO section to add a proposal and a comment that if a student withdraws from a class after the early withdraw date where there's that early withdraw date where it doesn't penalize and you can change your courses. After that date, then we have to actually pay for those credits. So if it comes after that date, then they will get a failure on their report card. Right now, there is no penalty. We're finding we have students that become not full-time students and we don't even know about it until after Minnesota North sends us the transcripts because they so easily just withdraw and we are paying their tuition. So it's something we'd like to consider. If they're in a CIS course, this already happens. So if they would withdraw or fail during the year, they get an F on the report card. And so this kind of aligns with that. So that's the one thing we would like to add, which isn't in the handbook currently.
Good idea.
Okay.
Questions?
So some of the changes that you're making are going to help with the class sizes, you're thinking?
Yes. Yes, it will help balance the class sizes. we're doing the best we can to, the more singletons you have, the more the schedule gets tight with certain students get stuck in certain patterns and you know, we try to give every student the schedule that they want, but it's impossible, number one. But the more singletons you have, the more difficult it becomes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support.
Support Reardon. Motion by Lotiger, support by Reardon. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
12.2, consider approval of the memorandum of agreement between St. Louis County Family Services Collaborative and RRPS for purpose of expansion of early intervention and prevention services.
So moved, Reardon.
Support.
Motion by Reardon, support by Lotiger. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. 12.3, consider approval of easement request.
I make motion.
Motion by Ms. Westby, any support?
Support.
Support Reardon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12.4, determination of temporary easement.
So moved.
Motion by Reardon,
Support.
support by Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12.5, consider which school board members interview junior school board representative applicants.
I would like to participate in that.
I would as well.
So I'd like two volunteers to meet. Want me to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that those are the two.
Yes.
Okay, let's
I'll
support that.
second it, or whatever.
Motion by Reardon, support by Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Meeting announcements. Next regular meeting will be Monday, January 27th, 2025 at 6 o'clock at the Rock Ridge Admin Building. Motion to adjourn?
Without objection, we can adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Support by Lotiger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Go Vikes.